This is the D class, and we are reading on page 126. We are in the sixth circle, which is the circle of the heretics, and I think there's going to be more in the next circle. Yes, for this, they get stuck here for several cantos in one spot, and then things start moving again. So I believe Olivia is going to read top of the page. We have answered through question
42.
Thank you, that's helpful. We've answered through 42, so, and we know now, yes, that they're in, so we know 43, that the visitor, we identified the visitor, right, as a heavenly messenger. The word angel means messenger. But notice that what happened is he was coming. There was fireworks, so to speak. There was weather. There was the souls just scattered out of his way. He walked on water. So this is definitely a divine person. And he just touched the gate with his wand. The thing opened up just immediately. And so now we're in 44, the circle 6. These are heretics. Have we talked about why they're in burning tombs?
What?
Why are the heretics? What are heretics?
Like control people who want to control everything.
Well,
Heretics are like people who like say something
that there are teachers who teach false philosophy or false, in our case, they teach anti-Christian things. So why, and the people who followed them are in this part of hell. Why are burning tombs appropriate? Did we talk about why that was appropriate? I think this is hard. I'm going to read what Dorothy. Well, let me read what Dorothy Sayers says, and I'll read it again after she reads it. These teachers, they were obdurate, which means inflexible. Their ideas were narrow and confined. They didn't tell the truth, and they rigidly stuck to it. And they were also narrow, like a coffin is pretty narrow. They weren't able to see past their own view of it. So here, let her read it, and you'll see more of what's going on.
Then back he went by those foul thoroughfares, and unto us said nothing, but appeared like one much pressed with weightier affairs than he cares for those before him. So we stirred our footsteps citywards, with our hearts reposed, safely protected by the heavenly word. Through the great war we entered unopposed, and I, being all agog to learn what state of things these huge defensive works enclosed, gazed around the moment I passed the gate and saw a plain stretched spacious on both sides, filled with ill woes and torments desolate. Whereas at Arles, where soft, slow round slides, or at Pole near Cornwall? Bay, fences Italy with its washing tides. The ground is all uneven with array on every hand of countless
Sepulchres. You know what a sepulchre is? It's a tomb. That term's used in the Bible. You hear it sometimes. The empty sepulchre.
So here, but in a far more brutal way, for strewn across the tombs, tall flames flared fierce, heating them so white hot as never burned iron in the forge of any artificers. Thank you. The grave slabs all were thrown back and upturned, and from within came forth such fearful crying, 'twas plain that here sad tormented souls mourned. Oh, sir, I said, how are these people lying in these grim coffers, whose sharp pains disclose their presence to the ear by their sad sighing? And he said, the great
Hesiarchs are heretics. That's another word for heretics.
Okay. With all those of every sect their followers, and much more the tombs lay laden with thou wouldst suppose. Here, like with like is laid, and their flames roar more and less hot within their monuments. Then we moved onward, and right-handed bore between those fires and the high battlements.
So we're going to hear more about this, but you see the tombs, the coffins with people in them, and those are and I mispronounced it. It's heresiarchs. Like you see the word heresy in it, heresiarchs. So that makes more sense. All right, we'll turn to page. This is circle number 6 still, the heresiarchs or the heretics in the burning tombs. And anybody want to read the story? We'll read the story. And how about the text? We'll let him read the story. You want to read the text?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we'll go to Amelia next and Rosamund. Thank you.
As the boats are passing along beneath the city walls, Dante is hailed by Farinata from one of the burning tombs and goes to speak to him. The conversation is interrupted by Cavalcante, de Cavalcante, with a question about his son. Farinata prophesies Dante's exile and explains how the souls in hell know nothing of the present, though they can remember the past and dimly see the
So
future.
remember, the story takes place in the year 1300. It was written and published, the book was 1314. So it was written after he was exiled in 1301. You following that? In other words, he writes it in his exile, but he sets it before his exile. So people in the book will predict his exile. That's because he already knows it's coming.
Smart.
Yeah. Smart's a good word for it. You want to read? Yeah.
You want me to read to the bottom of the page?
Yes, if you could.
Thus onward still, following a hidden track between the city's ramparts and the fires. My master goes, and I go at his back. O sovereign power, that through the impious gears, said I, dost wheel me as thou deemest well. Speak to me, satisfy my keen desires. Those that find here their fiery burial, may they be seen, for nothing seems concealed. The lids are raised, and none stand sentinel. And he, all those shall but shut fast and sealed, when from Jehoshaphat, they come anew, bringing their bodies now left far afield. And hereabouts lie buried, close in view, Epicure and his followers, they who hold that when the body dies, the soul dies too. Hence that deemed thou choosest to unfold, may here and now be fully satisfied. Likewise they hidden wish to be untold. Alas, and I, from thee I'd never hide one single thought, save that short speech is sweet, as thou hast warned me once or twice, dear guide. O Tuscan, walking thus the words discreet, alive through the city of fire, be it good to thee to turn thee hither a while, and stay thy feet. Thy native accent proves thee manifestly, born of the land I vexed with so great harm, and noble land, and to much vex, maybe.
All right, that's good, very good. Let me just remind you what Epicureans are. We met the Epicurean at the Franklin in the Canterbury Tale. Remember him? The Franklin. He gave parties. He was very generous. Yeah, yeah. Remember an Epicurean? I'll read it to you. An Epicurean is one who believes earthly happiness is the end and aim of all human endeavors. And you see that all the time. I was watching an Andy Griffith episode, and he was talking to somebody. Says, being happy, isn't that the reason we're here? Isn't that, we're Andy Griffith, all-American Andy Griffith, and he couldn't get it more wrong. Isn't that the reason we live? Isn't that the reason we're here? Human happiness. It's the belief that earthly happiness is the end and purpose of all human endeavors.
Wait, what word is?
Epicurean. And it also involves the pursuit of pleasures, but that's part of the happiness. And then he's also said that here's another heresy, that the body dies and the soul dies with it. And I would listen to an atheist talk to a Christian scientist, not a Christian scientist, a Christian who is a scientist, and he was saying, what comfort could an atheist have? And the Christian says the comfort of believing that you never have to face God and be judged. And that is what people who believe the soul dies are hoping, that there is no God, and that when the soul dies, I'm off the hook for all the bad things I've done. And the Bible teaches, and we know it's true, that's not the way it works. Every person is going to be judged by what they do, and if you don't believe in God, that's one of the main reasons. Think about it. It would have to be. I can do anything, and there's no ultimate judgment. I'll get away with anything in this world and in the next world, and that would be heresy. It's kind of what he's talking about. All right, this guy, Farinata, I think, interrupts Dante and begins to talk to him. So we'll find out who he is. Would you like to read, Amelia?
Sure. This summons threw me into such alarm, coming suddenly from a tomb, that my dread I shrank up close against my escort's arm. Come, come, what art thou doing? Turn around, he said. That
Farinata.
Look, he has risen to sight, and thou canst view him all, from waist to head. Already my eyes were fixed on his. Upright, and he had lifted him, strong-breasted, stony-fronted, seeming to hold all hell in deep despite. And my good guide, with ready hands, undaunted, thrusting me toward him, and through the tombs apace,
Apace.
okay, said, in thy speech and precision is what
Nope.
is what's wanted.
You say precision, right? In thy speech, precision is what's wanted. I love that word when it comes to language. Be precise when you talk. Say exactly what you mean. Find the right word to communicate what you're trying to say. That's a huge gift and skill to be able to say the exact word that you need. That was Virgil's advice. You can keep reading.
I reached the vault's foot, and he scanned my face a little while, and then said, with an air almost contemptuous.
What is he if he's contemptuous?
He's sworn or distant.
Yes, he disdained Dante.
What's thy name and race? Being anxious to obey, I did not care to make a mystery, but told all out. He raised his brows and trifle, saying, there were foes to me always, stubborn, fierce, and flout me.
Fierce to flout.
Fierce to flout me in my house and party. I was quick to chase them twice. I put them into row. Quite true, and by that same arithmetic, said I, they reeled all around and came back twice. Your side, it seems, have not yet learnt the trick. Just then, close by him, I saw slowly rise another shadow, visible down to the chin. It had got to its knees, I think. It moved its eyes round about me, as though it sought to win sight of some person in my company. At last, when all hope lay quenched within, it wept. If thy grand art has made thee free to walk at large in this blind prison of pain, where is my son? Why comes he not with thee? I come not of myself, I answered plain. He that waits yonder leads me on this road, from whom perhaps your
Guido.
felt disdain.
We'll learn about Guido, but it's kind of a poignant little episode. This Cavalcante sits up in his tomb, and he's a heretic, and he says, is my son with you? And he says no, but he says maybe it's because he doesn't like Virgil. Maybe he had disagreements with Virgil. Anyway, Cavalcante thinks his son is dead, and you'll see this in a minute, and he's very upset about it. Even though he's in hell, in his mind he thought his son was still living, and the fact that his son is...
Wait, fair enough.
Yes, fair enough. No, I'm sorry. This is the other guy, Cavalcante. Remember, there are two people that speak to Dante. One is Farinata and one is Cavalcante.
Cavalcante thinks his son's dead.
He wonders why his son is not with him. So he thinks he's dead. We'll get that in a minute. And Dante actually gives him the wrong idea. He makes him think he's dead, but he's not dead. We'll find that out. Yeah, Liza Mann, you want to read?
The words he used together with his mode of torment were sufficient to betray his name, as thus my pointed answer showed. He leapt upright, crying, What dost thou say? He felt, why felt, our life and feeling over? Looks he no longer on the pleasant day, and seeing me hesitate a while before I made a reply, he let himself suddenly fall backward again, and showed his face no more.
So he's really upset that his son might be alive, because something Dante read into what Dante said made it sound like
Wait, dead or alive?
he thinks he's dead. That Cavalcante thinks his son, his own son, is dead because of something Dante said. He mentioned.
Wait, how do you know his name?
Oh, okay. Well, I know because it's at the beginning, but I think it's mentioned later in the book.
Okay.
But anyway,
But that great-hearted spirit, at whose call I stayed my steps, his countenance did not move, nor bent his back, nor stirred his side at all. And if he spoke straight on where we broke off, if they have missed the trick of it, I burn less in this bed than the whole thought thereof.
now this is Farinata again. Cavalcante disappears back into the tomb, and Farinata talks.
But thou, ere 50 times will I return to thy queen's face, who reigneth here below, shalt find out just what the trick costs to learn. But tell me why, as thou dost hope to go back to the light, thy people make decrees so harsh against our house, and hate us so. That field of havoc and bloody butcheries, I answered him, when Arvia's stream ran red, have filled our temple with these litanies. He sighed before he spoke and shook his head. Faith, I was not alone there, nor had gone in the rest without good cause, he said. But when they made agreement, everyone to wipe out Florence, and I stood to plead boldly for her, there I was alone. Now so may rest come some time to your seed, said I. Pray solve me this perplexity, which ties my brains in a tight knot indeed. It seems you can foresee and prophesy events that time will bring, and if I hear right, but things with presence seal differently.
Okay, highlight that. I've been telling you that people in hell, and he's going to explain it. We won't be able to read it, but he's going to explain it that when it's far off, they can see the future, but they can't see it when the future becomes the present. It's kind of like a dementia in hell. They don't know anything. It's a loss of knowledge. So you have these two people, Farinata. Oh, one thing about Farinata, he was responsible for the massacre of some Florentines. Remember, Florence is where Dante is from. And Farinata was a Ghibelline. He's the other party. And he was responsible for the massacre of some people. But he says they wanted to destroy all Florence. And Farinata says, I stood up against him. I was the only one. It's like he's defending himself. Yeah, I did. I was responsible for killing a whole bunch of Florentines. But when they wanted to destroy the city, I stood against them.
Didn't he say, like, when he was saying something, he said that he didn't like his accent because he didn't know where he was from or something?
Yeah, he did say something.
Yeah, where is that?
It's on the first page, like 25 or something.
Did you say the first page?
Yeah, Canto.
That, okay, who's
Yeah.
talking? Said, I think this is Farinata. O Tuscan, walking thus with words discreet, alive through the city of fire, be it good to thee to turn thee hither a while and stay thy feet. Thy native accent proves thee manifestly born of the land I vexed with so great harm, a noble land and too much vexed, maybe. So he's admitting, that's Farinata. He says, I recognize your accent. You're from Florence. And I admit that I caused a lot of harm to Florence. I killed a lot of people, and maybe too much. That sounds like he's a little regretful of it. Can you tell people about can you personally tell some people about where they're from by their accent? They used to be able to tell Southerners, because we have a distinct, you can tell people, even Southern accents are different. Charleston accent is different from an Alabama accent, which is different from a Texas accent. North Carolina is a little more cosmopolitan than maybe South Carolina, maybe Alabama. And we have a whole bunch of people from up north, so we don't talk. Anyway. All right, good job. We will start off where we just left off.
It's one of the two. It's either and I got on my second try. Hi. No, I mean fridge or tile. Yes.
I think British is just kind of.
They are in cursive.
I think they're just like an extra.
We're British.
large.
No, they're the SpongeBob handwriting for capitals.